What if our whole approach to security and compliance is just fundamentally wrong? What if this constant chase, patching holes, checking boxes, is just a symptom of something much deeper? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical idea. What if we started treating security not as a set of rules, but as a series of relationships?
We've all heard this a million times, right? Users are the weakest link. But what if that kind of thinking is the actual problem? The moment you start blaming people, they hide things. And just like that, you've destroyed the one thing you need more than anything else in security: visibility. But when you create an environment where honesty is the norm, people feel safe to say, hey, I think I found something. And that's when you can actually get to work.
And this quote, this just hits the nail on the head. For years, we've been obsessed with building fences, right? Compliance checklists, security rules, these rigid walls. But a fence only tells you where the property line is. It says nothing about whether what's inside is healthy or thriving. This new way of thinking is all about cultivating the garden, focusing on strong, healthy, transparent connections. Because let's be real, when the garden is flourishing, the fence just becomes this natural boundary to an ecosystem that's already working.
Okay, so let's get specific. What on earth do we actually mean by relationship as code? And this isn't just a fluffy concept about people holding hands. We're talking about the code, the actual connections that make all of our technology tick.
So here it is, the formal definition. It's really about taking all those invisible handshakes that are happening, between a web browser and a server or between two different APIs, and dragging them out into the light. We make them explicit in code. We limit what they're allowed to do, and this is the big one, we make the entire thing visible to everybody. No more black boxes.
And you can break down every single one of these technical relationships into three pretty simple layers. First up, you've got the wire. That's just how do they connect? Think of it like a secure tunnel, maybe something like MTLS. Then you have identity. Okay, you're connected, but how do I know you are who you say you are? This is their digital passport, like an OAuth token or a certificate. And finally, and honestly, this is the most important part, intent. What is this connection actually allowed to do? This is where we define its purpose and its limits.
All right, so if every connection has these three layers, how do we manage them? From beginning to end. Well, that brings us to what we can call the life cycle of digital trust. It's a complete, repeatable playbook for any technical relationship.
And really, every single interaction between machines should follow this kind of deliberate dance. It starts with discover and authenticate, basically the introduction and the ID check. Then comes authorize and observe. Are you allowed to be here? And what did you do while you were here? But these last two steps, this is where the magic really is. Renew/rotate, because trust should never be permanent. And revoke/exit, the big red button you hit the second trust is broken. It's a clear rhythm that replaces all that ambiguity with pure certainty.
What's really wild is that this new model doesn't just change what we do, it completely changes the words we use. We stop talking about security controls and we start designing conditions that make the safe path the easy path. Instead of a dusty old asset inventory, we start thinking in terms of a living, breathing relationship graph. And this isn't just playing with words. Changing our language literally changes how we see the problem.
Okay, so this all sounds fantastic in a presentation, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you make that trust visible and test these relationships? Well, that's where a practice called clarity engineering comes in.
Now, I want you to forget everything you think you know about traditional pen testing, where some secret team tries to break your stuff and then sends you a 50-page report card. Clarity engineering is the polar opposite. It's done with the team, everybody in the room, working together. The goal isn't a pop quiz to catch people messing up. It's more like a truth session to discover, together, how the system really behaves.
And the process itself is just beautifully simple. First, you invite everyone and you agree on the mission. Then, you just observe how things actually work day to day. After that, you start asking those what-if questions and you run tiny, safe-to-fail tests to get real answers. And this last step is absolutely crucial. When you find something, you adjust the conditions, the code, the policy. You never, ever blame the people.
So, what does it mean to ask the system a question? Well, we call them clarity probes, and they're just simple, direct tests. What happens if we show up with an expired certificate? We should get denied, and an alert should fire. What if we ask for a permission we don't have? Denied. What if we just slam it with traffic? It should gracefully throttle us, not fall over and die. Each one of these is a live experiment to see if that relationship contract holds up.
And this brings us right back to our garden. We've talked about defining the relationships, testing them together,
So what's the big payoff? What happens to that dreaded fence we call compliance?
And this is where it all clicks into place. On the left, you see the daily work of tending the garden, these relationship rhythms like blame-free check-ins and writing the rules together. And on the right, that's the fence. Those are the compliance items that just get handled automatically as a side effect. When people feel safe to report an issue, guess what? Patches happen faster. When they help you write the rules, least privilege actually sticks. The garden takes care of the fence all by itself.
Look, at the end of the day, we've been chasing the wrong thing all along. We've been so obsessed with proving we're compliant that we've totally neglected the actual health of our systems. But when you shift your focus, when you start creating explicit, visible, and truly healthy relationships, security and compliance stop being a chore. They just become the natural, inevitable outcome of building things the right way.
So that leaves us with one final question to really think about. Just take a look at your own work, your own teams, your own code. Are your days spent checking boxes and shoring up walls? Or are you focused on cultivating understanding, visibility, and trust? Are you building fences? Or are you growing a garden?